Welcome to another edition of Shy's 13 Plus Random Facts, where we pick anyone, anywhere, or anything and find 13 random facts about it. We toss in some trivia just for fun, then we share it all with you because we know curious minds want to know. Today we are going to learn 13 plus random facts about Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary. So sit back, relax, and hopefully you'll learn something new over the next 10 to 15 minutes. The Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, or United States Penitentiary. Alcatraz Island, often just referred to as Alcatraz or the Rock, was a maximum high-security federal prison on Alcatraz Island, 1.25 miles off the coast of San Francisco, California, which operated from August 11, 1934 until March 21, 1963. The main prison building was built in 1910 to 1912. During its time as a United States Army military prison, Alcatraz had been the site of a citadel since the 1860s. The island became a prison of the Federal Bureau of Prisons in August 1934 after the buildings were modernized to meet the requirements of a top-notch security prison. Cells were smaller than a closet. In B and C blocks, the cells were 5 feet by 9 feet, with a sleeping cot, a toilet, and a small sink with running cold water. By comparison, today's walk-in closets are about 6 feet by 6 feet or bigger. Given this high security and the location of Alcatraz in the cold waters and strong currents of San Francisco Bay, the prison operators believed Alcatraz to be escape-proof and America's strongest prison. The Escape from Alcatraz Marathon is held every year to show that it is possible to escape from Alcatraz and live. Created in 1980, it includes a 1.5-mile swim to San Francisco, an 18-mile bike ride, and an 8-mile run. In fact, in 1962, inmate John Paul Scott covered himself in lard, squeezed through a window, swam to shore. Police later found him at the foot of the Golden Gate Bridge, unconscious and suffering from hypothermia. He is the only known person to have escaped Alcatraz alive. It has a lighthouse. It was the first West Coast lighthouse activated in 1854. It helped guide ships in the San Francisco Bay until the early 1900s, when a new building on the island blocked it from the view of arriving ships. And if all that's not enough, can you believe there's a Japanese restaurant titled Alcatraz ER? Is styled after the prison's hospital. Its menu includes human intestines, which is a long sausage in a kidney dish, a penis on a bed of lettuce, another sausage, and a drink called the Brain Buster. Yum yum, doesn't that sound tasty? So anyway, keep watching if you want to learn some more interesting facts about Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary. So let's start this party with a question. Let's see what you know. Question number 1. True or false? Alcatraz wasn't a prison that one would be sentenced to full time. It was only used to reform prisoners who were troublemakers at other prisons. They usually never spent much more than 6 to 8 years there. What do you think? Is that true or false? While you're thinking about that, let's move on to fact number 1. Alcatraz didn't have a death row, nor any facilities for executing the death penalty. But a few prisoners did die while imprisoned there. 8 people were murdered by other inmates on Alcatraz. 5 of them committed suicide and 15 died from natural causes. Deaths were so infrequent that the morgue was a makeshift-looking place which is part of the tours of Alcatraz today. Please, if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe buttons along with the notification bell, which all happen to be down below this video. This way you can be kept informed every time we upload a new video. Fact number 2. Though Alcatraz would never be confused for a country club, inmates still had outlets to pursue physical activities. Softball was the most popular pastime, with prisoners using a diamond in the recreation area. Organized teams played using shorter innings, Balls going over the barricades were outs, not home runs. But not every game went smoothly. The teams were integrated, and that occasionally led to racial tension. During one May 20th, 1956 game, tempers flared and makeshift knives were pulled before guards could restore order. Don't know if any woman's hurt, didn't say that. We do hope you are enjoying our videos of 13 plus random facts. If you have any ideas on ways to improve or get better, please feel free to let us know in the comment section below. We truly would love to hear from y'all. Answer to your first question is true. Alcatraz was mainly for prisoners who were troublemakers at other prisons. Usually an inmate would spend 6 to 8 years at Alcatraz before he was reformed enough to be sent back to his own prison. The typical Alcatraz inmate had a sentence of 20 to 25 years to serve in other federal prisons. Fact number 3. Alcatraz didn't get shut down over human rights issues or because the prison was too hardcore even for society's worst. It closed in 1963 because it was too expensive to keep open. It also needed fresh water brought in by boat at the rate of 1 million gallons a week. Salt water continued to erode structures, making the cost of maintaining the buildings very high. On a day-to-day basis, Alcatraz cost $10.10 per person to maintain in 1950s dollars, 3 times as much as any other federal prisons. Feel free to share this video with your friends. Let's spread the word and get more people here. With your help, let's watch this channel grow together. Fact number 4. When the need for armed monitoring of the bay ended, the U.S. Army deconstructed the fortress, leaving only the basement foundation intact. From 1909 to 1911, the military prisoners were put to work building a new structure that would house disciplinary barracks for the West Coast. That building is the one standing today. Now that's what I call a punishment. Make the prisoners build their own prison. Kind of funny when you think about it though. Makes me wonder if any actually considered building an escape hatch, or even an escape route. Question number 2. What year did President Richard Nixon reverse the policy ending government seizure of Indian lands, mainly because of a group of college students who stormed the abandoned prison in 1969, which lasted a total of 19 months? Was it A, 1971, B, 1972, C, 1969, or D, 1970? A, B, C, or D? While you're thinking about that, moving on to fact number 5. Known as the Rock, Alcatraz developed a reputation for segregating America's incorrigibles from the rest of the population. Sometimes rules dictated that prisoners couldn't even speak to one another. Conditions inside the prison weren't as harsh as movies and television would later portray. Inmates often got their own cell, and some even asked to be transferred there because the potential for violent trouble was low. The reason some of the more notorious criminals of the era were sent there was usually due to the facility's strict routine. Prisoners had little leeway or privileges outside of the 4 basics: food, shelter, clothing, and medical care. The one perk, though, was hot showers. Inmates got warm water for their showers. A theory has it that if prisoners got used to warm water, they'd freeze up if they ever made an escape attempt in the bay's frigid conditions. Me personally, I hate cold water, so they would not have to convince me with warm showers to stop me from trying to escape in the cold, frigid waters of the San Francisco Bay. Although, I would still be happy with the warm showers over cold showers. Who wouldn't? Fact number 6. It was never full. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, Alcatraz usually held 260 to 275 prisoners, which was less than 1% of the entire federal inmate population. It had a holding capacity for 336 inmates. During its 30 years in operation as a federal prison, Alcatraz held a total of 1,576 men. There were no women prisoners at Alcatraz. There were also no female guards or administrators. Makes no sense really though, if you ask me. I mean, they had no female guards or administrators, but yet they had no problems with women and children living on the same island as the prison, with all those so-called violent inmates. What's wrong with that picture? And yes, you'll hear more about that later on in the video. Answer to your second question is D. In 1969, a group of college students stormed the abandoned prison. Their cause was to draw attention to the United States government's policy of terminating tribal sovereignty and relocating Native American residents to cities. Richard Oakes, a student at San Francisco State College, led the occupation, which lasted a total of 19 months. Authorities moved in 1971 when the group, which was 400 strong at its height, dwindled down to just 15 people. During their protest, Richard Nixon reversed the policy in 1970. So there's your answer, 1970, effectively ending government seizure of Indian lands. Fact number 7. The most famous battle in Alcatraz occurred May 2nd to May 4th, 1946, when 6 inmates gained access to weapons but not the keys to escape. They killed 2 correctional officers before the U.S. Marines were called in to end the uprising. 3 inmates died in battle and 2 received a death sentence during their trial. Okay, do the math there. It says 3 inmates died, but it doesn't say if the 3 that died were part of the 6 who accessed the weapons. But let's assume they were, so that means 3 died and 2 received a death sentence, which leaves 1. What happened to him? I don't know, so many unanswered questions and no one to answer them. Fact number 8. It was initially a fort, declared a military reservation in 1850 by President Millard Fillmore. In 1859, troops moved in to defend the Bay Area. In 1907, Alcatraz became an official U.S. military prison and remained one until 1933. When the facility transferred ownership to the Department of Justice, which is when it became known for the worst of the worst, housing notorious criminals like Al Capone and George Machine Gun Kelly. Along with Al Capone and George Machine Gun Kelly, we can't forget about Alvin Creepy Karpowitz, listed as public enemy number 1, who spent 25 years on the island, or even the Birdman Robert Stroud, which we will hear more about later in the video. Question number 3. What year did Gardens of Alcatraz partner with the National Park Services to restore the Gardens of Alcatraz and make it part of the tours of Alcatraz? Was it A, 2002, B, 2003, C, 2004, or D, 2005? A, B, C, or D? While you're thinking about that, fact number 9 is coming up. Without a permanent human infrastructure, Alcatraz Island has slowly been engulfed by nature's squatters. One of the first sights visitors see is a surplus of western gulls taking up residence on almost every surface. The Park Service even offers a tour of the avian life, which includes 5,000 birds across 9 different species. The population of birds is fitting though, since the prison's most famous inmate is widely considered to be the Birdman of Alcatraz, Robert Stroud. After being sentenced for murder, Robert Stroud took up ornithology and was considered to be an expert by the time he arrived on the island in 1942. There you go, now you know. Hey, if you happen to know a few facts about Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary that are not on this list, please feel free to share them with us in the comment section below. We really would love to hear some new facts about it. The more the better. Fact number 10. Families lived on Alcatraz during its prison years also. Life at Alcatraz wasn't isolated just for the prisoners. Guards and other prison employees lived on the island in separate housing that was once a Civil War barracks. Their kids fished in the bay and passed time in social halls that had pool and bowling. Families often took weekend boat trips to nearby Marin to stock up on groceries and other essentials. While they were forbidden to make contact with inmates, a few made a spectator sport of watching new arrivals come in wearing shackles. There's even an alumni association for folks who grew up there. Hey, where did you grow up? I grew up in Alcatraz. Okay then, nice knowing you. Anyway, that's what I was saying earlier. They would not allow women to work there, but had no problems putting the families of the guards in danger. Yes, I get it. It was a highly secure area, but that didn't stop people from trying to escape, did it? Which means anything could have happened. I mean, instead of trying to swim to escape, they could have went to a house and took hostages. Moving on. Answer to number 3 is B. When Alcatraz was an active prison, its officers and their families planted gardens. The hardy plants they chose survived decades of neglect after the prison closed. That is until 2003, when Gardens of Alcatraz partnered with the National Park Service to restore and maintain them. They offer guided tours of the gardens a few days a week, taking visitors to Officers Row and the Rose Terrace, which are off limits to other visitors. Fact number 11. Alcatraz Island was converted into a park and made part of the U.S. National Park System in 1972. It's possibly the only such park that can lay claim to Al Capone once strolling its grounds, and more than 1.5 million people visit it annually. So let me know in the comments below if any of these facts surprised you. Better yet, let me know how you did with the questions. Were they easy enough for you, or maybe I need to make them a little harder? Either way, let me know down below. Fact number 12. Prisoners actually did escape from Alcatraz. Many know the story of Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin, who famously attempted to escape the prison island in 1962 using a raft made out of raincoats. While it was a prison, of the 36 men who fled from the site in the 29 years it was opened, 23 were recaptured, 6 were killed by guards, and 2 drowned. The remaining 5, including Morris and the Anglin brothers, made it to the water and disappeared. No one knows whether the men made it, but the odds were stacked against them. That's what they want you to believe. Before it was a prison, Alcatraz was a military post, and according to the National Park Service's History of Alcatraz, imprisoned soldiers who went on work assignments to mainland army posts sometimes just walked away. And the website SF Genealogy says another enterprising inmate simply forged a transportation permit, got on a boat, and left. Thank you for joining me, and I do hope you learned something today. We do try to make it both educational and fun for everyone, because we want you to keep returning. And bring your friends with you. Question number 4. Way back before Alcatraz was a prison and it was still a fort, 19 Hopi Indians were imprisoned on Alcatraz. What year did this happen? Was it A, 1895, B, 1894, C, 1896, or D, 1893? While you're thinking about that, here's the last fact. Fact number 13. One of the tougher punishments on Alcatraz was a stint in the strip cell. Inmates sent there were stripped naked and given water and bread just once a day. They were given a mattress, only at night. The toilet was a hole in the floor, and there was no sink. The room was pitch dark. There you go. All that's left now is your answer to the last question. Do you think you know the answer? Before we answer, maybe you want to watch some more facts, so be sure to click on one of the links at the end of this video. It will hook you up with another 13 plus random facts video for you to enjoy. And with that all being said, here's your answer to number 4. The answer is A. In 1895, back when Alcatraz was a fort and not a prison, 19 Hopi Indians were imprisoned on Alcatraz because they refused to farm the way the government told them to and were against their children's forced education in government boarding schools. We hope you enjoyed your time with us today and will return soon to watch another 13 plus random facts video. We do upload often, so be sure to hurry back and don't forget to tell your friends about us. That's all there is, and there ain't no more. My name is Shai, and thank you for joining me today. You have yourselves a great day, and good night.